With the release of patch 14, we got a ton of updates and new content that I'm sure a lot of you guys already know about. But one thing that has stood out to me more than anything is the addition of this little reflex sight. For those of you who have been playing Tarkov for many years, most of you will remember the old PKO6 and how unbelievably clean of an optic it used to be. Unfortunately for us, BSG completely nerfed it into the ground and it hasn't been usable in a long time. However, with this update, that all changes. So today I'm going to be showing you guys why this new red dot is the best optic in the game. Before we dive into today's video, I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor. There is no sponsor, it's me. I'm the sponsor. As some of you may know, I finally kickstarted my live stream over on Twitch with the new wipe, and it's been an absolute blast being able to interact with some of you guys. So if you wouldn't mind heading over to my channel, which will be the first link in the description, and hitting that follow button so we can reach 50 followers, that would be awesome. Now back to the video. All right, so jumping straight into this video, patch 14 is here. The game is freshly wiped. It's been about a week now. I apologize for the lack of uploads. I've just been trying to enjoy the wipe and progress a little bit, but now I feel like I'm to a point where I can start making content again. So here we are. So today's video is all about the new optic, which is going to be this right here. This is the Willcox BOSS XE Reflex sight. But before we jump into this one, I want to go over a couple other ones first because there are two other new optics as well. So stick around to the end. We're going to cover this, and I promise you guys, if you haven't seen this sight already, you are going to want to see it because it is insane. All right, so the first one we have right here is going to be this Action Cobra EKP-1S-03 reflex sight. That's a mouthful.
That's what she said.
Basically, this is just like a lot of the other ones, the Cobra. It'll mount onto AKs that have the little thing on the side. I forget what it's called. But the good thing about this is you can get it from level 1 proper. Let me just show you guys real quick right here. And it is only 10K. So it's really good as a budget optic for the beginning of wipe. And usually from level 1 traders, you don't really have many options for optics, especially when it comes to AKs. But this one is not bad. So we're going to go ahead and throw it on. I'll go into the hideout and show you guys what it looks like. So here it is, all its glory. It's not a bad looking optic, to be honest, and considering you can get it from level 1 trader, it's also not that bad of a deal. Unfortunately, the bottom of it does take up a lot of your screen, and it also kind of gets in the way of the reticle itself. Not the reticle, but the glass. You got 4 different options for which reticle you want to use. Obviously, this is going to be just like the Cobra. Not gonna lie, I really don't like this one that much just because of how big the base of the optic is, but for 10K from a level 1 trader, you can't really go wrong, and it's not bad overall. Moving on to the next optic I have for you guys, it is going to be the Sig Tango 6T 1x6x24 30mm rifle scope. This is basically an equivalent to the Voodoo and the Vortex Razor, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I really like this one, but I also don't at the same time. I know that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but we'll get into it. It has a 1x zoom and a 6x zoom, just like the Voodoo and the Razor. The 1x is super clean, but unfortunately for me personally, the 6X looks like a Bravo, and I'm not a very big fan of the Bravo, but the one thing that this does have going for it is it is relatively affordable to buy. It's only around 70K, but also at the same time, I believe the Razor is around the same price as well. Let me just double check. Razor is a little bit more expensive, so if you want to save some money, this is a good option. Now, this scope came in with the addition of the new gun, which is the Sig Spear, and if you find yourself in a marked room, chances are you may end up finding one of those Sig Spears as well, and this scope comes on it. If we go over to the flea market, we can see a few of them on here, but this is how you would find the gun in the marked room, and as you can see, it has a scope on it. With the scope also came the addition of a new mount for it as well, and it just goes in there like that, and you can put it on any gun that has a big enough rail system. One thing that I do want to point out is that it is very specific to what kind of mount it uses. Unfortunately, you cannot put this on early game mounts like the Lobayev 30mm. This is one that you can get from Jaeger level 1. I found this scope in raid and I was super excited to try it out. Went to the traders before I had flea, bought this just to realize it doesn't go on there. So if we do a quick link search, these are all of the mounts that you can use with it. You've got 6 different options here, but obviously most of these you're not going to get until higher level traders anyways. I believe the earliest you can unlock a mount from a trader is like Jaeger level 3 or something like that. but also you can buy some of them off the fleet if you have access to it. So I will say overall, I do really like this scope. It's nice to have another option other than the Voodoo and the Razor, even though the Razor is king in my opinion. But we're going to jump into the hideout and I'm going to show you guys what it looks like. All right, so here it is. We've got it on the Scar Heavy. Unfortunately, this is one of the only guns I have right now that I can throw it on, and you can't really see it. But if we go ahead and zoom in, this is what the 1X looks like. I think it's very clean, very similar to the Razor. Super small reticle in the middle. I actually really like it, and it feels really good to shoot it. But for me, the problem is once you get into the 6X. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the Bravo, so unfortunately, this reticle style is not really for me. I'm still probably going to use the scope because it's so cheap, but this is what the 6X looks like, and I do like that it has very clear range markers on it as well. Overall, I think it's a good scope, great addition to the game, and I think a lot of people will be using it. I haven't used it yet personally, but I think I will here soon. All right, so that's it for the Tango and the Action Cobra. Now we're going to move on to the main focus of the video. This is the Willcox BOSS XE Reflex sight. And this is, in my opinion, the best reflex sight in the game. This thing is absolutely insane, the reticles that you can get on it, and it even has a built-in laser. So it's small, only takes up one slot, very compact. It looks good on the gun. I'm gonna go ahead and toss it on and show you guys what it looks like. Here we have it on the shooting range. As you guys can see, very small, super compact, doesn't take up a lot of the screen. But the best part about it is obviously when you're using it. So the first thing you're gonna see when you zoom in on this is going to be this hollow sight style red dot. What I like about it is the edge around the dot. Obviously, the little window that you're looking through is very thin. It doesn't take up your whole screen like a hollow sight does. And obviously, you have this reticle that is very similar to like the XPS or something like that. So we're going to have 4 different scope modes on this. And if we switch through them, obviously the next one you can see, you get an integrated laser, and it kind of cuts the hollow sight in half. So if we zoom out, you can see it has a laser on it, which I think is super cool. Kind of eliminates the need to be running a laser. You could just throw this optic on and call it a day. And if we go ahead and switch it again, you can turn the laser off and still use that reticle. But the absolute best part about this optic is this right here. Right here is a tiny dot, and is very similar to the old PKO6. It doesn't sway around when you move the scope, and it's perfect. This is giving me huge old school PKO6 vibes. And when I found this scope in raid, threw it on my gun, switched through until I found this, I could not contain my excitement. For those of you who might be new to the game and don't remember the old PKO6, basically if you take the PKO6 we have now, put this little dot in the middle of it, and add in the fact that it doesn't move around all over the place like the PKO6 does now, that is what you would have had. Obviously, the old school PKO6 is way better than this. It has much smaller profile, way smaller optic, but this is about as good as it's gonna get. What I do like is the little iron sight looking thing below it. It kind of gives you a reference point. Like if you're aiming at somebody, if you put that thing around their stomach section, then you're gonna be at head level. And to me, it's just a good little point of reference. Now, I know a lot of you are probably gonna see this video and be like, wow, that thing looks good, it is insane, I'm gonna go buy one right now. Well, let me stop you right there. So unfortunately, because people know that this is so good and it's like the old school PKO6, it is very expensive. Now, when I say very expensive, I just mean it's expensive for a red dot. So if we go ahead and filter right here, you'll see that these things are selling anywhere between 90 and 100K, which is a lot. You can get a Vortex Razor for cheaper than this little red dot. Unfortunately for us, this is locked behind Peacekeeper level 4, but also when you get Peacekeeper 4, it's still a very expensive sight, coming in at $484 US. But I think this is gonna be the most meta red dot in the game, and I'm not really seeing a whole lot of people talking about it. Obviously, people know about it because it's so expensive right now, but I'm not seeing any big content creators, YouTubers, streamers, stuff like that. I'm not really seeing anybody use it, so I'm wondering if a lot of people just don't know about it. I didn't know about it until my buddy found one in raid and he let me see it, and I was just blown away. So just to recap on it, you got 4 different sight options. You got the one right here, it's kind of like a hollow sight. Then you got the half hollow with a laser, and then the half hollow without the laser, and then the tiny red dot like the old PKO6. It's super small, compact. You find it in raid, it only takes up 1 slot. It's very reminiscent of the old PKO6 reticle, and I think a lot of people are going to be using the crap out of this once they find out about it. The downside, obviously, it's very expensive on the flea market, and you have to wait until Peacekeeper level 4 to get a little bit of a discount. If we go over to Peacekeeper and type in the dollar amount, you'll see that this red dot is going to cost you roughly 70,000 rubles, which is very expensive for a red dot, but I think BSG understands how powerful it's going to be, and that would explain why it's so expensive. Overall, I'm super excited to use this thing once I get to a point where I can comfortably afford to spend 90k on a red dot. So anyways, that's going to be it. That is the 3 new scopes in the game. I may or may not have missed 1 or 2. I'm not really sure. These are just the ones that stick out to me. And real quick, I'll go ahead and throw this back on and we'll take one last look at it for those of you who may have missed it. So obviously you got your hollow style here, your half hollow with the laser, half hollow no laser, and then the very beautiful tiny red dot, and it is just amazing. Unfortunately, with the snow going on right now, this probably isn't your best choice to be using because you can't really see red dots on the white surfaces, but if the snow ever goes away, this thing is going to be insane. So again, that's going to do it. Those are the new optics in the game. If I miss one, please be sure to let me know down in the comments below. I don't think I did, but you know, I could always be wrong. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully you guys are liking the wipe and liking all of the new stuff that came with it. I'm definitely a huge fan of all the changes they made this wipe, the recoil system, the vaulting, everything. This wipe has just been one of the best ones that we've had in a very long time, other than the server issues on day 1, which is honestly a given at this point. So again, quick reminder, if you guys wouldn't mind hitting that first link in the description, heading on over to my Twitch channel and dropping a follow. We're trying to hit 50 followers as soon as possible, so I'd appreciate it if you guys did that. But other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video.